And welcome back to our podcast, Wine and Wine, Real Estate Uncorked. Today we are diving into top questions buyers and sellers are asking in this coming into spring market. So we'll give you honest answers, actionable tips, and insights that you can count on. So let's talk about the first thing that a lot of people are asking. Should I buy now or wait until rates drop?
So when are rates going to drop, Cole?
My crystal ball is a little foggy. What about yours?
Well, I can see out about 3 months in my crystal ball, and I don't think much is going to happen in the next 3 months. So that actually goes with the next question. What do you think property values are going to do in the next 3 months? Well, property values are probably going to go up.
Yeah.
And the reason is
because there's not enough inventory.
Correct. There's more.
I was waiting for a trick question there or something. No
obviously. Trick question. So the point is and this comes up all the time. When's the best time to buy real estate? Today.
Yeah.
Because 5 years from now, you'll say, I wish I'd have bought 5 years ago. And that's what a lot of people are even saying now. Even with higher interest rates, property values in Santa Clara County continue to rise.
Right.
Now, they went up about 6% last year. Interest rates doubled last year, but property values rose. So my mortgage payment is higher, right? Because I pay more interest. But my property value is higher too. So getting into a property a year from now, 2 years from now, regardless of interest rates, is going to cost you more money.
Right.
So we've talked about this before. Get a mortgage payment you're comfortable with.
So focusing on affordability.
Correct.
Rather than just the interest rate.
That's right. And say, okay, I can afford to pay this amount of money and go forward. And when interest rates come down, and they will, I don't believe we're ever going to see 3% again, but I think more normal is going to be high fives, low sixes someday. You refinance.
Yeah.
And clearly refinance with intention of lowering your affordability. That's all you're doing.
And keep in mind, we obviously listen to experts speak about this topic all the time. If you are waiting for interest rates to be in the 3s and 4s, you will probably not see it again in this lifetime.
Yeah, that's a fact. That was a great period of time for everybody that got in. And actually, it's one of the reasons why inventory is low, because if you're holding a 3% mortgage, you're probably not going to be the one to sell your house unless you have to. If there's there's the things that drive people to move: death, divorce, relocation, etc. There's a situation.
Yeah, homeowners are hesitant to sell because
downsizing, upsizing. But if you got a 3% mortgage, you're not selling today. That's helping create this inventory shortage. So buy now.
So how do you increase inventory?
Well, that's how you increase inventory is by calling us to sell your house. And everybody I want to sell every one of them. Inventory generally starts to increase in February. This is our February podcast, and we'll see typically right after Super Bowl, inventory starts to rise.
Right.
But so does buyer demand.
Right.
So, I mean, our inventory is extremely low right now. It's under 1,000 homes for sale right now. It's like 600 single families and 200 and something condos, and that's another topic. It will rise, but then the demands continue to rise. So even if interest rates dropped 0.25%, that brings more people into the marketplace. So
I think buyers also need to make sure they're aligning with realtors that are going to be very proactive in the way that they look for business.
Yeah, and not all inventory is up for sale on the multiple listing service.
Right.
So there's ways to find homes for sale that aren't there. There's lots to do, and that's why a good
That's what we do. That's what we
we'll
do.
take care of you for you.
So another question, are home prices, I think we've already talked about this, are they going to drop?
Well, again, based on the law of supply and demand, our demand exceeds our supply. And in those situations, it's like anything else, like a can of beans on a grocery shelf. If supply exceeds demand, the price goes up. If demand exceeds supply. Sorry, the prices go up the other way around. And we're seeing that, again, interest rates did not affect the appreciation in our county. Property values went up, even though interest rates doubled. So I don't believe, so let me add this way. Let me do it this way. If you think you're going to buy your home today and you're going to make a ton of money by the end of the year because the property values are going to rise, that's not going to happen. But over time, the property values in Santa Clara County will continue to rise. There is a strong statistic that we've used in many of our presentations that shows since 1940, the average price of a home in San Jose has doubled every 10 years. From 1940, even through the ups and downs, even through the mortgage crisis, everything else of the mid-2000s, home values have doubled. So 10 years from now, your home's will be worth more money than today. Put it in writing.
So we are on the topic of buyers. Just a quick thing. What do you see as far as rents?
Yeah. Well, so rents, it's interesting that one of the things you look at when you buy an investment property is the rent to sales price ratio. How much is it my appreciation going versus what my cash flow is on our house? Rents continue to rise, although not at a rapid rate. It's been a little bit tame. Some of the folks that we're helping with property management are looking to try to raise their rents, and I'm actually suggesting not do that right now. Let's see what happens over the course of the next year for those who can't buy or didn't buy, if they're back in the rental market, and see rents rise. I think we saw a slight increase in rents last year, not a major one.
No.
And it's better to have a tenant that's paying you the rent you're paying than to try to find a new tenant and try to get more rent when it's not out there. So I think the rental market will remain flat to slightly rising. And as properties sell more, then perhaps a year from now, rents will start to rise with it.
Right.
Occupancy in single-family homes and condos is still around 4.5%. The interesting thing and this is a whole other topic, is look at the commercial space that's available. It's over 20% right now.
Wow. So the next topic, we're jumping into sellers now, sellers specifically.
Well, let me say this before we go into sellers.
Yeah.
We're here to answer questions too. So we'd love to have you if you have a question that we're not covering or say, why did they talk about this? Let us know.
Yeah.
We'll pop it in here.
Absolutely.
We'll even mention who sent it.
Yep.
We'll go, Bob from Campbell said.
Is it a good time to sell or should I wait?
Well, I believe that's a question that has to do with life circumstances.
Right.
If you have no reason to sell it other than you want to because you want to take your equity, sure, take it. Should you sell? That's up to you. The things that force people to sell typically are life events. Again, death, divorce, lose your job. I want to move out of the state.
Diapers.
Babies. That's right. That's the other D. Diapers. Thank you. I want to upsize. I want to downsize.
Right.
So life events. So is now a good time to sell? Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a low inventory market.
Absolutely. I mean, I encourage you to sell now if you really want to take advantage of the low inventory because buyer's demand, again, is higher than its supply. So when is a good time to sell? Well, when you're ready.
Right.
Or the need arises.
All right, Dad. Since I seem to be interviewing you today.
This is great.
Yeah. So how do I prepare my home to sell quickly and for top dollar?
Now that is a great question. And it's one that we wish every seller that we talk to would talk to us earlier than later.
Yeah.
Oftentimes we'll interview for selling a home and a person say, well, I went and I did this, I did that, I painted, I did it. And a lot of those things should not or didn't need to be done.
I'm speaking with a seller right now that a realtor advised them to do all kinds of upgrades and did not get the money out of it. And they were completely unnecessary.
Well, that's unfortunate.
So now we're coming in to relist the property and make some minor things to get that home to shine. But it's unfortunately the misinformation out there as well. So.
Well, and that goes back to what I first said is earlier is better than later.
Right.
And I think that when you're interviewing agents, other realtors, and they're making suggestions for remodeling or for modifications to their property, improvements to their property, the biggest question any seller would need to ask is, for the money I'm putting in, how much do you expect my house to sell for more?
Right.
And a lot of times there are things that you're going to do to your house that are not going to make it sell for more.
Right.
Some of those should be done because it has more appeal, but it's to get the price of your home that you want for your home. Not I'm going to get $100,000 more because I painted the door, or whatever.
And we're available for those questions as well. If there's something that you're not thinking about selling, but you're thinking about improving and you want to make sure you're getting your money out of it, am I doing this for me or am I doing this for the resale value of the property?
Absolutely. And there's a national builders have a chart. They track if you put a new kitchen in, it returns every dollar returns you how much back. It could be bathrooms. Every dollar returns how much back. And those are questions that should be answered by anybody that's interviewing to sell your home if we're talking about improving the property. Now, there's always things that you could do to make sure that the property shows well. Curb appeal.
Right.
You got to have a great curb appeal. I don't care anything you could do to improve the curb appeal is going to help, because when a person drives up to your house, it's the first thing they see. And if they don't like what they see, they're probably not going to like what's inside. So curb appeal is big. Decluttering always, taking away a lot of family pictures and things that other people could picture their own stuff being in there.
Right.
Minimizing your furniture. Painting is important if it needs it. It may not need it. A lot of times people paint needlessly because they think they have to paint the house. The one that we're preparing right now, been lived in for about 5 years, and it needs touch up. It needs to be painted. So it's just a matter, again, of starting earlier with the realtor, us preferably, than later, to find out what needs to be done and make that house sell for optimum dollars.
Right. And living there, if you're living there or not, obviously has a different set of things that are needed.
Yeah.
We still bring in, our professional designers that are going to help work with what you have.
If needed.
Mm-hmm. And if the home is empty, then obviously, we stage our homes.
Absolutely.
It's the best way to make sure that buyers walking in, seeing it polished.
Yeah, and staging a home brings top dollar.
Right.
Making the home, again, prepared properly, top dollar.
Right.
But a lot of times there's money that you put in your property and it's not going to return your extra dollars.
Right.
So it's important, again, start early rather than later.
In the planning.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So what's the best way to price my home in this market?
Yeah. The best way to price your home in the market, as all of us know, that homes have a value. That value is based on what other homes like yours have sold for. And I think that it's very important to look at the condition of your home, the location of your home, as compared to other homes in similar condition, similar location have sold for within, I would say, a half a mile of your property.
Right.
And what that says, and it may not match what Zillow says, it may not match what other online sites say. That comparable sales analysis is the most important thing, and you have to really be careful to scrutinize the comparables to your home. So,
and not only the half a mile radius, it's also the amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
A home that's sold 18 months ago is not going to be the same in what we're using today to value your home.
Absolutely. I would think that the most you'd want to go back, even with the holidays in mind, is 60 days. That's the most I would go back. And I only say 60 days so I can grab a little bit of before the holidays. Because the holidays, inventory slows down, homes sales slow. But I think that it's invaluable to not consider 60 days.
And I think it's important to know those numbers so that your price isn't overpriced.
Well, yeah, overpricing a home is death.
Yeah.
When your home is overpriced, what happens? It
stays on the market.
And then what's the first thing? Now, let's pretend you're the buyer. And what's one of the first things people look at?
What's wrong with it?
Days on market. Why has it been on the market for 3 weeks? Why has it been on the market for 30 days, 60 days?
Right.
And then the next worst thing is watching the price go down.
You're chasing the market.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're chasing the market.
You can't catch a falling knife, or you shouldn't catch a falling knife. Yeah, so pricing your home properly. And I would say that in today's marketplace, price it at the market level, and you'll be happy with that. There was some, earlier when inventory was extremely low, there was some game to price your home under market, so you would attract more people there and drive the price up. Well, I think right now, this last year, in watching list to sales price ratios, I believe that pricing your home at market is the most effective thing to do right now.
So let's talk about a multiple offer situation.
Good.
Yeah, we love those.
Yeah, we do.
And I know we're jumping forth on this one's jumping into a topic that deals with both buyers and sellers. So let's break down a buyer first.
Okay.
So how do we handle a multiple offer situation?
Well, I think that's
for a buyer.
For a buyer side multiple offer situation. So what's the first thing that we want to see from a buyer? If I'm representing the seller and Nicolette's got a buyer coming in, the first thing that I want to see from her offer as compared to all the other offers is how does it shine more than the others? What does shine mean? Shine means no contingencies. How do you go non-contingent?
So no contingencies, making sure that you wrote the contract appropriately.
Right. Buyer's been
Buyer's been fully underwritten.
Fully underwritten.
That's key there. This is not a pre-approval zone. This is a fully underwritten. The lender can do your loan and probably close in a short amount of time.
7 days normally.
Right.
I know with our preferred lender, 7 days after you're getting fully underwritten.
Platinum approval. Yeah.
Approval, yeah.
Yep.
And the other piece is that I want to see from a buyer that they have adequate reserves. Why do I want to see adequate reserves? Because if the property is in a multiple offer situation, there's a very good chance that it's going to sell higher than its value. And what I mean is that when an appraiser comes in, it's going to say the house is worth X and it's sold for X plus.
Right.
So I want to make sure that that gap can be covered by the buyer's reserves. So adequate reserves. So when you're submitting an offer as a buyer, you want to make sure that your strong offer has proof of funds. It says, I can go higher if need be. I have the money to close. The conditions they've seen, hopefully, any other agent out there that's selling a home, representative seller, has done their due diligence by meaning that all inspections are done and all the inspections have been reviewed by the buyer and acknowledged by the buyer that's coming in with multiple offers, so I can be certain that they understand the condition of their property.
In Santa Clara County, most of the time, the disclosures, reports, inspections, everything's provided up front. Thank goodness we've done business in other counties where it's not that way, which is very hard because it definitely brings on points of renegotiation. You want everything up front. So then both buyer, seller are entering into a contract fully on board with how the property is being taken.
Right. And I would say that if a property, sometimes sellers believe that they don't want to spend the money to do those inspections, and our agents don't have the same type of system or same type of philosophy that we have, whereas our inspections are included in our fee so that we get them done no matter what. You leave yourself open as a buyer to not be able to go on contingent because you don't know the condition of the property.
Yeah, you have to know that up front.
And you would have to protect the buyer. We would have to protect the buyer.
I would never write an offer for any client that did not have inspections up front.
And they fully understood the inspections.
Correct.
Because all inspections aren't clean. Sometimes there's issues. You got to say, okay, you're taking the property with knowledge that there is a hairline crack in the foundation.
Right.
Hairline vertical crack.
And what that cost looks like.
Yeah,
there's,
exactly.
Potential termite that needs to be cared for. That will be X number of dollars that would have to be handled after the close of escrow. Those type of things. And this is all something that we do prior to writing the offer, is walk through all of those steps. And then on the seller side, obviously, all of the items that the buyer's required to look for, that's what we're looking for our sellers. So it kind of answers both questions.
Well, you know what the most important thing, I'm going to go even one step further and put myself out on line here, is the relationship that we have with the agents.
Oh, gosh, yeah. It's a realtor to realtor business.
It really is. And I appreciate everyone's hard work in getting a buyer in contract, or trying to get a buyer in contract. But relationships are everything.
Yeah.
Our business, the ability for us to be able to reach out to agents that we've not only done business with or have done business with us, and have an open communication about what their buyer is looking to do.
Right. And the rapport we've built with these agents over a long time.
Yeah.
We've been in this business a long time.
35 years, yeah.
Yep.
So I think that's really an important key, is who's the agent.
Yep.
And that comes back to when people are interviewing anyone for being a buyer for them. How long have you been in this business?
Right.
How many deals have you closed? How many knowing people in our business? It's a people business.
Right.
It's like I think that's one of the most valuable things. So that would be the other factor that would come in on a multiple offer. Who's your agent?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've covered most of the topics. We've tackled most of the biggest questions, unless there's something you think of.
I don't know. There's so many questions, and we can't think of all of them. We've probably heard them all, and we have to remember every one of them. But I encourage any of our listeners and followers to please help us. Ask some questions. I'd love to be able to have a whole podcast where all we do is just handle potential questions from potential clients. I'd love that.
Yeah, I think the market's changed. We've seen multiple markets, but the fundamentals of what we do and who we interact with within this industry, they stay the same.
They do.
They really do. So, the specific questions are very unique to each buyer and seller, but they really come down to how we function and how we operate in this business, which is just providing the highest level of service.
And remember, the only bad question is the one that you didn't ask.
That's right. So I think if there's any questions that you have, please feel free to reach out to us directly. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, and obviously share it with anyone that might get some information out of this. If you have any topics for future podcasts that you would like us to go through, we greatly appreciate it. And thanks so much. Have a great day, you guys.
Thank you.